Be encouraged. God is our refuge and strength. Unprecedented. According to the Cambridge Dictionary, unprecedented means never having happened or existed in the past. It may feel like we have been hearing this word more than ever. Reports of its overuse date back to the Obama administration, but since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, it's been impossible to escape unprecedented. No matter how often the word pops up, it is evident that many of the intense current events we experience are very precedented, just with a twist.
Well, Michelle, the first word that comes to mind is unprecedented. I mean, you've got federal officers roaming the streets, just pulling people out of their cars based on how they look. I mean, this just doesn't happen in America.
Or as Summon Cho put it last week, a time like this has really been around for quite some time.
Like the genocide, Reconstruction, the Civil Rights era. A time like the crack era, the LA Rebellion, mass incarceration era. A time like what? And for who? Black Americans? People with disabilities? Palestinians? Congolese? Poor people? A time.
And at the request of some haters online, comedian Kevin Fredericks made a joke.
But I'm going to stick to comedy. Here's a joke. Here's something I find funny. A lot of white people co-opted the term stay woke so quickly, they didn't listen to what it meant. Okay, black folks been telling each other to stay woke, to keep you safe, to be aware that the government will kill you and then blame you, that it'll be your fault. Before you have a chance to defend yourself, you'll be the victim and the villain. Then the villain.
Langston Hughes dropped this bar in the 1930s, but it sounds like it was written yesterday. Yes, we Negroes in America do not have to be told what fascism is in action. We know. Its theories of Nordic supremacy and economic suppression have long been realities to us. So with all the continued trials and tribulations, this year for Black History Month, the Black History Committee offers you a balm. Be encouraged. The Lord God is in our midst. He is mighty and saves. And for week 1, we say, be encouraged. God is our refuge and strength. History shows that God has literally been our safe place, with the physical church and his ambassadors serving as sanctuary, muscle, and energy behind the march towards justice in America. There is much to say about how enslavers and those benefiting from the economic system of slavery used religion as part of their justification. But God provided refuge for many to escape the horrors of the peculiar institution. Many churches played a role in emancipation efforts. Mother Bethel AME in Philadelphia, led by Richard Allen, and Plymouth Church in Brooklyn, led by Henry Ward Beecher, are just 2 examples of known stops on the Underground Railroad, the informal network of stops that enslaved Americans used to find routes to freedom. Famous abolitionists like Harriet Tubman tied their active efforts to their faith, freeing not just herself, but hundreds of others in the process. And for millions who never tasted freedom on this plane, the God they worshipped was their resistance. In a system meant to destroy them, they survived and passed on a faith that still stands. Through the Jim Crow era and the Civil Rights Movement, the church remained the site of organizing and resistance. Perhaps no group became more prominent than the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, led by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., whose embrace of nonviolent resistance and Christian approach to addressing the nation's sins attracted a great deal of attention and respect. In this period, the church was the home to organizing meetings, educational reinforcement, and self-determined dignity. Despite history's wide paintbrush, there were notable pockets of resistance that employed different methods. The Deacons for Defense and Justice was a civil rights organization dedicated to the armed protection of Black Southerners against the Ku Klux Klan. They were decidedly not based in a church, nor specifically tied to a religion. However, as their name suggests, the intersection between church leaders and members was strong. Reverend Frederick Douglass Kirkpatrick, teacher, part-time minister, musician, and executive secretary of the Jonesboro, Louisiana chapter, suggested to a New York Times reporter the Negro needs an active religion. The Deacons for Defense and Justice and other similar networks provided security to those doing God's work in advancing ideals of justice. Coming back to the 2020s in today's very precedented